Did you quilt your inner borders? Did you use that new technique? What'd you think? Did you like it? Ready to do it again? Hey Kimberbell friends, Kristen Som here, and yesterday we did the inner borders with that brand new technique that Kim showed us, and so we're going to do it again. We're going to do it on the outer borders this time. So real quick, to start with these, we want these all cut out to 3.5 by 4 3/4. So 3.5 by 4.75 for each of these patchwork border pieces. There's 18 in all, if I recall correctly. So we are going to sew these all together. And I did back each of mine with fusible stabilizer. Like I said, I'm using the Kimberbell fusible backing. And let me show you real quick. So the fusible backing is that light green one. And then I'm in my hoop, I'm using the mesh cutaway, light mesh cutaway. So those are the stabilizers I'm using for the borders. And like I said, get your patchwork borders ready and we will sew those together and start quilting them. Same technique as yesterday. So real quick though, before we jump into that, I received a box yesterday. So I thought we'd do a quick little unboxing. This is from my girlfriend's quilt shop. And as you know, after we finish Candy Cane Lane, we are gonna jump into a project with clear blue tiles. I'm very excited about these. I know very little about them and am super excited to give them a try. So this will be really fun for us to do. Gotta remember how to open the box. There's a little magnet on the side. If you get yours and you haven't figured it out, there's a little magnet on the side and you open it up from there. So clear blue tiles, very excited for our project with these. I have the essential set, which you have to be able to use the clear blue tiles. And then I also have the expansion set for the larger hoops. So these will be really fun. So I'm assuming this has something to do with that since that's our next project. So I've already cut it open, but I haven't peeked. Oh, nice, nice, nice. Okay, so I asked my girlfriend's quilt shop to make us a kit, a fabric kit for our clear blue tiles project. We're going to do that placemat that is part of the design, that it's on the USB stick. And so I asked them to make a fabric kit for us because I know you guys all love fabric kits. So I thought that would be really fun. So they sent me one too. How nice is that? So this is the winter bundle. And I think both of them sold out immediately, but they're back in stock. So if you tried at the end of last week when I sent out the links, try again. They're really cute. Oh, I love this. Lots of blues, some red. Looks like maybe a little gray, mostly blues. This is really cute. So I'm going to make the winter one. There's also a Christmas set. And there's a link in the video description under this video, and there's also a link in our group, in the Kristen Creates group, with both kits and also the clear blue tiles. So, oh, they also sent me this fusible peel and stick. I haven't tried this before. I know very little about it, but I did see that it's in the clear blue tiles description as something that we need, but it turns out that that's an error. So Chris let us know. Chris is the owner of my girlfriend's quilt shop, and that's an error on the instructions, that we don't actually use this. We just use the regular stabilizer and the batting. So look at this. Oh my goodness. I've been wanting to try out this batting for so long. So this is the Kimberbell Project batting. It's got the green label on it, and I keep hearing how great it is and how it's the perfect loft for our projects. And you can see this, it looks like it's going to be really nice. Maybe I'll try it on our patchwork borders actually, since I haven't tried this before. So the things that you want, like I said, you want the clear blue tiles and then the project batting. And then if you want a fabric kit, they made one special for us. There's two actually. There's this winter one, which is mostly blues. And then there's a Christmas one specific. And some of the Christmas fabrics are from the Jingle All the Way kit that are They were re-released and then they're not going to be again. So if you want that, grab it quick. So very fun. Thank you, My Girlfriend's Quilt Shop, for those items. So we're going to go ahead and start on our borders. We're doing the outer borders today. And like I said, you want to cut these to 3.5 by 4 3/4. And I backed mine with fusible stabilizer. I'm big on not wanting puckers. So I haven't decided yet, but I may use the white that's from our Candy Cane Lane kit, or another option is the light gray. If you did Candy Corn Quilt Shop with me, that pretty quilt, there is a nice gray in that kit that you could use for your quilting design. Either one. I am using Winter 2 border, and you get that direct from Kimberbell using our affiliate link that is in the video description. And because our project for Candy Cane Lane is sponsored by Your Best Friend's Quilt Shop, so we're trying to, all of the products that we need for the Candy Cane Lane bench pillow, we're getting from Your Best Friend's Quilt Shop. And like I mentioned yesterday, I used glue, and this worked really well. I was surprised how well it worked. So most people use that spray. I'm personally not a fan of this spray. I don't like it messy, and I don't like it gunking up my needle, and this did nothing of that. It worked super well. And mine, like I mentioned yesterday, is purple. I didn't know that when I bought it, but it worked out really well. So the purple, you put it on purple, and then when it dries, it's clear, and it didn't affect the quilting at all. You could take it right off. It was very lightly glued, so that worked really well. So like I did yesterday, I am going to merge 2 of the strips together into one hooping, and I'll go over that and what sizes I've decided on. There's a few options depending on what hoops that you have and how many hoopings you want to do, and if you want to do single or double, the outcome all works out the same, so it doesn't matter at all. But for now, get all of your patchwork border pieces ready, and we're going to sew them together with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Let's get started. One thing I forgot to mention yesterday, if you are a user of 5 by 7 hoop, if your largest hoop is a 5 by 7, really easy. You are going to do 6 hoopings of 3 by 7 for this one. For yesterday's, you would do 6 hoopings of 1 by 7 for the inner borders. For the outer borders, you're going to use 3 inches by 7, which actually totals out to 41.82. So it'll be a little bit longer, but all that means is on your last hooping, you would just let it run off onto the stabilizer. Really easy. Or hit stop on your machine and tie it off and be done. Either way works totally fine. But you will want to do 6 hoopings of the 7 inch for your 5 by 7 hoop, and that's it. And before you ask, my shirt today, this design is by So Cute Appliques, and it's honestly one of my favorites. I used Minky for the snowbeard and buffalo plaid, and added the words believe. And the shirt is from Fred Meyer, my local Fred Meyer. I got it at least a year or 2 ago, and it's one of my favorites. It's got this cute hood, and it's lined. It's super cute. So anyway, find a cute shirt, get a cute design, and make your shirt, because now we have that tutorial, you know. Don't forget, we need to first piece these all together and sew them into one long strip. Well, that was easy. All right, so one thing is you want to make sure to get them in the right order. So personally, I really like it when they're not the same top and bottom, and that's how Kimberbell has it in the directions is different, so that I like that. To me, when it's more patchwork, when they're different, top and bottom, right? They're not going to match up, so I think that's pretty cute. So this is the direction that you want them to be in. There's the first one, and then the second one. All right. So it says to press the seams after. It doesn't say which way, so I just did them open. I pressed my seams open when I was done. Now, one thing to note is it's going to be a little bit longer than your bench pillow. If you add it up, it adds up to, I think, a 1/2 inch larger, not with even with the seam allowance. So, so just be prepared. You can see it'll be a little bit bigger. So plan on cutting probably 1/8 of an inch, but what we want to do first is quilt it first, and then we're going to start from the middle of the bench pillow and sew out, rather than starting on one end and having one of our patchwork blocks be quite a bit shorter. It'll be cuter if we put it in the middle and sew out. And then we'll just trim off the excess. If you used fusible stabilizer on the back like I did, then it's very likely not to pull with the quilting, and so we really will have to trim it just a bit. My guess is 1/8 of an inch on each side. If you add up the math, it works out to be 1/8 of an inch on each side that we'll need to trim. So we'll know more about that after we're done with our quilting. So we've got our 2 strips all ready, so let's go ahead and so it's time to get started with our quilting. Okay, let's talk batting real quick. I was going to use my new Kimberbell project batting and decided I should just keep with the same batting that I'm using throughout the project so that there isn't any change. So I'm saving it for my clear blue tiles that we're doing right after we finish Candy Lane. So as far as batting, this is key. You want to cut it to the exact size that we need it. You don't want any extra, because then that extra will be what goes into our seams. So we want it 3 inches wide by 38 inches long. Very important to get these exactly right, as close to right as you can. 3 inches wide by 38 inches long, and you want 2 strips. And then we are going to attach them to the back of our patchwork border. So you can, like I said yesterday, you can use that spray. A lot of people really like the spray and they have it available. Go for that. I'm not a fan of this spray. I think it gunks up the needle, makes it more likely to break, and it's very messy, and I'm not a messy gal. I like things very clean and organized. So I bought this glue stick, and that's what I'm going to use. If you saw yesterday, I just put a very thin layer on it, and it's purple. Mine is purple. It doesn't need to be purple, but mine's purple, and it dries clear. So it made it so that I could see where I was putting it, and it worked really, really well, surprisingly well. I hadn't used that before, so I was a little nervous, but it was great. So again, very thin layer, just enough to hold it in place. You're going to babysit it once it's on the machine anyway, so it really doesn't matter, but just a very thin layer of the glue. Let's move you over here so you can hopefully see a little better. There we go, that's better. All right, and then just get your glue stick or your spray, whatever you're using, ready. So one thing I'm going to do differently is I am going to not have, well, so yesterday I put the batting just under, instead of when we put this in the placement box I mentioned yesterday, I'm going to have a little extra over. I'm not going to put it right in that placement box. And you do you, whatever works for you, especially those that are using the 5x7 hoop. Yours is going to be a little longer anyway, so that will be totally fine. But you just want to make sure that your batting isn't right at the seam, because we're going to sew these together. All right, so purple glue, here we come. Just a very thin, very small bit. I'm putting it right on my batting. You can do it right on, I think yesterday I did it on, yeah, I did it on the border. Either one is going to work just fine. I think I'll switch to doing it on the border just so I can see where I'm going to place it better. But spray or glue, whatever works. And like I said, this is the part that you want to line up really, really well, and make sure that it's straight. So don't totally rush through it, because this is what is going to give us our 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you you can see here, you want your 1/4 inch seam allowance on both sides. So you just really want to place your batting really well and just continue along those lines. And like I said, you can do it on the batting or on the border. Either way is going to be totally fine, and just a little bit works just fine. It's just enough to kind of hold it in place, and we're going to watch it closely anyway, so it really doesn't matter. All right, get your batting attached onto your borders. And again, this is just if you're doing that new technique that we did yesterday that Kim showed on one of her recent videos. And it is just going to bypass those first 2 steps, and we're going to just have this ready to go. So if you're using the techniques that we did for Candy Corn Lane or for Broomhilda or Vintage Boardwalk, then you won't be bypassing those first 2 steps, and you would just take the hoop off and trim it. But we're gonna bypass those first 2 steps. Why not? Save some time. Okay, since we know that our strip is a little bit longer than we need it to be, I decided on my second one that I'm starting the glue process in the middle, and I'm folding my batting in half and starting from the middle and working my way out instead of from one side to the other, just to make sure that it's really even, and both strips are going to have batting all along the way. All right, so you can see here, I've decided I'm going to start from the middle and then do the glue out from there so that it will match all the way. And here's why. So you can see I have a tiny bit of, well, like a 1/4 inch there, and then more on this side. And so I just want to make sure that it's evened out. So start your glue from the middle, or your spray, whatever, and then attach your batting on that way. Making sure to get your 1/4 inch seam allowance on both sides. Okay, so working from the middle was definitely the way to go. So here's one side and the other side. So versus on the first one that I did, there's just a little bit and then more. So work from the middle out, and then you've got the right amount, because remember, we are very likely going to trim off a little bit from each end. All right, so now both of our strips are ready to be quilted. So let's get started. Hey everyone, so I'm at my computer now, and we went over this yesterday, but since I need to make myself a file anyway, I'm going to go over it again for you. So real quick on the math, you can do, depending on your hoop size, you can do 2 hoopings of 14 inch and 1 hooping of 10 inch for a total of 37.41. That would work great, and you'd only have 3 hoopings. Or you can do 2 hoopings of 12 inch and 1 hooping of 14 inch for a total of 37.44, so pretty much the same. Or you can do 4 hoopings of 10 inch, and that equals out to 37.80. So someone, I don't remember who, sorry, someone mentioned this morning that you could do, what was it? I think she used the 14 inch and she did 3 of them, and then she just stretched it because it was really close. And she just stretched it, and for the leaves that would work. It just makes the leaves a little bit fatter. For the snowflake, I'm not sure that I would want to do that, but you could check it. You'll see it when you're using software. You'll see what it will look like. So that just depending on what you want to do. If you are using a 5x7 hoop, like I mentioned, you are going to do 6 hoopings of the 7 inch, and that will equal out to 41.82. So you would just let the excess run off on stabilizer. Whatever one you're going to do for the outer borders, you want a 3 inch size, and then depending on what hoops you have available. I'm actually going to do the 4 hoopings of 10 inch. I can do 3 hoopings, which saves on time, but I like that the 4 hoopings gets me right to the end. So 37.80, because we want a total of 38. And 37.44, you're not going to notice. It's like this tiny little bit. So that will work, and you can get 3 hoopings. Do it that way if you want. I'm going to do the 4 hoopings. I don't mind. So I am going to double them together. And so I'm just going to show you that real quick since I have to make it anyway. So I'm using Sew It Pro, File, Open, and then you point it to the where you have your design saved. So I'm going to do the 3x10. Click Open, and like I said yesterday, it goes to a 5x7 hoop. So we're going to go up here to this little Adjust Hoop button and click. I'm going to use this 7, actually 7x12. Because if I did a 6x10, then I'd have to take out the 2 sides. You know what? I think I'm going to do an 8x12. I'm going to do an 8x12 just so that I have a little extra room. So you've got lots of hoop options on here. So you would just click on it. So first off, I'm going to make it so that I can see, and I just hit the Shift button and use the scroll button on my mouse to be able to change the viewpoint. So I'm going to move this all the way over and decide if I have enough room. If I don't have enough room, I might even do a bigger hoop. So File, Merge to add another one. You saw that I moved it all the way over to the left. So File, Merge, and I'm just going to bring that same one again. I'm using the 3x10, and then I'll move it all the way over to the right here, and I'm lining up. So if you can see these little black markers on the sides, I'm lining that up with the middle of the hoop. So that fits really well. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm just going to move it over even more. Maybe this one over a tad more. Okay, so like I mentioned yesterday, you can be done here. Easy peasy. It will do the first strip and then it will do the second strip. I'm going to go ahead and just merge them over together. So you can see that they're broken out. The first 5 steps are this first one, and the 6 through 10 are this second one. So I'm going to go ahead and just put them together so that the placement stitches are all together. And to do that, I just right click on it and move it with my mouse up to where I want it. Sorry, Shift. My mistake. So click on it, Shift, and move it up. There you go. All right, and then the 2 golds go together. It's easy because they're color coded. And then the 2 blues. And by the way, you always know that the teal is the actual quilting design. See, when I click on it, the teal is that quilting design. So anything after that, you know, is the second hooping or the second design. So I'm going to go ahead and click on it and click Shift and move it up. And I'm just putting the colors together. Very simple. All right, now that they're all together, I would go to Edit, Join Threads, and join all adjacent threads of the same color. Click OK, and now I have 5 steps. So all of the placement stitches for the batting, the tack down of the batting. Number 3 is the placement of the main fabric, and number 4 is the tack down of the main fabric or the basting stitch, and number 5 is the quilting design. So now keep in mind that yesterday I showed you how we can bypass the first 2 steps. So it would be really easy to just go ahead and take those out now. I'm going to leave them in just for the people that are not using software to remember. Although I really would like to just take them out so I don't forget. But if you decide to take them out, you would just click on it and right click and click Delete Thread for that first one and the second one. You can see I went ahead and did it. So I'll just make a note for those that aren't using software that they would bypass these first 2 steps if we're using that new technique. So now we're down to 3 steps. So we've got our placement for our main fabric and our tack down of our main fabric, and number 3 is the quilting design. So remember, super important, hit Save As, File, Save As, and then I just click at the end of the writing and put double. Makes it nice and easy for me to remember. All right, and then I'm going to just find my folder, my USB drive, and then I have it saved on here. Excuse my messy desktop, I've been a little busy. But you would just find your quilting design, here it is. and then find the one that you just made, and it's a 3x10 double. Control C is to copy it, bring it over, and Control V to have it land there. I think if you brought it over, it also might copy it. I'm not sure. That might depend on the system that you're running. But anyway, so now I've got it on my F drive, and which is my little USB drive, and I can go ahead and bring it to my machine, and I'm all good to go. All right, let's go play. Just a really quick reminder that I took out the first 2 steps that we're going to bypass. So I only have the 3 steps. If you're not using this new technique where you bypass the first 2 steps, then you would need to bypass them. And remember to bypass them for each hooping. So I just have the 3 steps. Okay, I used black thread just so that you can see the placement stitches well, and it helps to be able to see it, to be able to put the border down. So remember I said yesterday that you're supposed to put it right inside of this box, but I'm going to put mine over just a bit, and what that means is up to the top a little bit more, so that I have a little bit of room for stitching them all together for my seam allowance. So I'm just putting it over a bit, and that's very easy to do. And then you can tape it down using either that rolled tape method that's shown in the directions, or since I'm keeping a little extra up here anyway, I can go ahead and do it with regular tape at the top. So the basting box, or the placement stitch, actually ends right here. So I know that I can go ahead and tape past that stitch box without having to worry about it getting stitched over. So you can see from the placement stitch where you can put it down, and you just want to make sure that all the sides are within that placement stitch, and do the same for the other. If you're doing 2 in 1 hoop, you don't have to be, but so you can see I'm just doing it over a bit just to give myself a little bit of seam allowance. Plus I think that we're going to have to cut off about 1/8 of an inch from the top or from both ends anyway. If you do the math, it works out that we're a little bit over. All right, so tape them in place, tape them really good, and then we're going to go ahead and do our quilting. All right, since I took out the first 2 steps, I've already bypassed them. If you didn't take them out using software, then you would just bypass them, and I showed yesterday how to do that with the little plus minus button on your machine. Very simple to do. So now we're going to do the basting stitch, and this is one that you want to babysit and make sure that it's not pulling up the sides or it doesn't get moved or anything like that. We've taped it, so we should be totally fine, but it's always a good idea just to watch it. I have decided on light gray thread because there are some white pieces and some white within the design, and so I've decided light gray will stand out a little bit more than white will. That's personal choice. You can use whatever color that you like for your thread for your quilting. Okay, you can see that we have the placement stitch on both sides, and that holds it in place nicely, so that now we can do the quilting, which is the last step. right, first hooping is done. Now we're gonna take off the tape, take off the excess stabilizer, and hoop the second one, and I'll show you how to line it up. How pretty is that? Okay, we've got our placement stitch for our second hooping. So just like before, we are going to take the first hooping, fold it back so that we can see where the stabilizer ends. So see this line of the stabilizer ending right there? That's what we're going to use to line up our second hooping. So we know that we wanted to stitch here, so that means that we're going to pull it back this way and line up that stabilizer with the top of this next placement stitch. Let's see if you can see this, hopefully. All right, and then once that you have it lined up just right with that first, the stabilizer from the first hooping, then pull it back and tape in place. So again, you can do that rolled tape method, or you can just tape up where it's already been quilted, because you know it's not going to go up there. It's going to start down here where the basting, or where the placement stitch is. So just get that all lined up, make sure it's totally straight, and then it will do that placement or the basting stitch and the quilting. So get them both lined up. So first you would look at see where the quilting is going to go. So it's going to go this way. So that means we want it pushed back here, and we want the stabilizer to be right at the top of this box, this new placement stitch box for our second hooping. All right, and then tape that in place. And make sure it's all straight in that box, and then tape it all down and get ready for the basting stitch and the quilting. Okay, before you start the stitching, make sure that both of your front ends and back ends are out of the way of the hoop. So when I first put it on, this one got pulled under, and so I saw it, thankfully, and was able to pull it out and make sure everything's all straight and out of the way for our next stitching. So this is a stick that comes in the fluff, the polyfill, and it's great instead of using fingers. We've all seen those photos of fingers that are bloody, and we don't want that. So this is a good thing to keep handy, or to just keep ready to hit that stop button if you need to. So we're going to go ahead and do the placement stitch, or I'm sorry, the basting stitch. So you probably can't see this, but this is where one ends and one begins. It literally is just seamless. It looks like it's all part of one design. How cool is that? All right, we need 2 more hoopings, or 1 if you've chosen the 3 hooping math. I'm doing the 4, so let's go ahead and keep going. Okay, so we have both of the strips quilted all the way through, came out perfectly. So as I mentioned, these are a little bit long, and it didn't pull at all because of the stabilizer, and so they are, I don't know, an eighth of an inch or maybe an eighth of an inch on both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pinning it from the middle so that both sides get trimmed. So you'll see you're going to just put it in the middle, and then from there you'll be able to determine how much excess there is after you sew it on. So for now, just pin these onto your upper and bottom of the pillow top, and we're going to go ahead and start sewing the sides on, or the top and bottom banner borders. It's late. Top and bottom borders to the pillow. One quick note, if you decide not to take out these basting stitches, make sure to do a full 1/4 inch seam allowance when you're sewing your borders onto the top and bottom of the pillow, just to make sure that you don't see those little threads peeking out. Okay, and it's done. So a couple of tips. Iron your seams toward the inner border. I did it the other way and it creates a little lip here, so, and then I had to redo it, so toward the inner border. That helps to make it all straight and lay flat. And then the other thing is to make sure to trim off that excess. There really wasn't very much at all. You can see there's a tiny bit right there. That one's fine, and maybe a tiny bit there. So just trim them off, make sure it's all even, and it's all done. So pillow top is done. Isn't it so beautiful? It's funny, you know, we've been seeing all these photos of the people that completed theirs, and in person it's just so much better. They're just beautiful pillows. So next tutorial we will work on the backing, a label, and the fairy lights and the embellishments, the pins and all of that, with a couple of tips that I've already prepared for. So anyway, finish up your outer borders and share a photo in the group. I look forward to seeing them. On a side note, I want to tell you that I'm wearing my Christmas shirts because it's a Christmas bench pillow, but as soon as I'm done with the video, I change into regular clothing, and I just want to point out that it's Thanksgiving time, and I'm just so thankful for you guys. Sorry. Anyway, it's a fun group. We have a lot of fun in our group projects, and I am not bypassing Thanksgiving and going on to Christmas. I am very, very thankful, and I hope that you'll share something that you're thankful for too. You know, YouTube is not a moneymaker. But what I'm doing is I'm having fun with this group. I'm having fun making projects that I wanted to make anyway, and we have this group camaraderie that is just so fun, cheering each other's on, learning new things, and just having so much fun. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to Thanksgiving and point out that I'm really thankful for you guys. That's all.